brought the songs to people, and you were the guys that you programmed your own music, right?
Well, originally we did a little bit, but not very much because they really had it pretty tightly formatted. They were calling it the Big 30 or the Top 30 as opposed to what was started by Todd Stores, I think, in Kansas City, and they called it Top 40, where they chose 40 songs. We actually had 30 that were charted, and you could have a pick song. And before I even got to KB, I was doing something at XRA, which was now something else today. But you could pick your own music then, yeah, but eventually it got to be a little testy where you had a music director or a PD, and he got to choose what was on the charts, and he didn't want everybody playing they didn't want much creativity, although there was eras where I could do that at different stations. But KB was always pretty much, as soon as I got there, Hound Dog, who preceded us, who was fabulous, he could pick his own music, because nobody knew the blues and the R&B stuff like George Lorenz. I mean, he knew it, and none of the people in the programming ever knew what to do. So he just had his own world and did well with it. But eventually they wanted the whole station to be cohesive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they put it all together with a Big 30, and then they had picks, and then they had...
Usually what happens is guys with ties figure out that they can make money, and that's when control gets taken away. That's what I see.
Well said, and that's true, because certainly some of the radio in those days, I think it was, if I may mention other call letters, I think BEN, and I know when I came to Detroit, WJR still had a house orchestra, and they had announcers that, used to dress up, some of them apparently with tuxedos, and hold their hand over their ear and do just like you see in old-time pictures or something, and they were still going on in the 50s and 60s, and eventually that sort of all went out. But yeah, it was. But the guys in the radio business didn't know what to make of rock and roll, certainly, and they didn't know what to do with rhythm and blues. And all of a sudden, it kind of all melded together. And then eventually in came FM, but that was a ways still down the road. People with FM stations did not know what to do with them. I mean, they played classical music because they could just put it on almost. It wasn't automated, but you could put on an LP of Beethoven's symphonies or Mozart's Best or something, and that's what they did with it. It was just sort of off in the corner, and little did they know that till much later that this was the way to go with music, especially on FM.
Right, exactly. So what are you doing now, Tom? What are you up to now?
I'm retired, thank you very much. Actually, what I'm doing, I'm in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. I'm not too far away, and I kind of got tempted when I heard you talking about the foods of Buffalo and things, and I'm coming in because I've got a daughter there. I've got a daughter in California and in Colorado, and I've got my son is here in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. So this is what I'm doing. I'm visiting I can't say children. Hell, they're probably older than you are. I don't know.
Visiting children's fine.
Yeah, I'm visiting them, and I'm coming back. And I'm out in California myself. I'm moved out there just about. So that's what I'm doing. But nothing else. That's all. I talk to friends in radio. Occasionally, I'll have some that live out here. Live in California. I have some in Michigan, of course, because I worked almost 20 years in the Detroit market. Worked in Denver. So, I mean, I have places, every place I go, I can stop and visit and see some people. But Buffalo is truly my home. That's where I started. That's where I wrapped it up, and that's where I came back once in between. So, yeah, that's still my home, and where all my memories in school and the Frosts and everybody else are,
Well, I'll tell you what. Can you stay on the line with us for just a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
Great, because we're gonna interrogate David, and maybe you can tell us some embarrassing stories if you're that close about David starting out being a musician.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll try.
All right, folks. Once again we're talking to Tommy Shannon, Buffalo radio living legend and music living legend. When we come back on the other side of the commercial break, more Tommy Shannon, more Dave Frost. Stick around, folks.